message of our readings today, the first and the gospel, as well as tied in perfectly by the responsorial psalm, is a message of humility, a message of meekness, a message of innocence, of living as such as the childlike. The first reading is a continuation from the prophet Isaiah as we hear the Lord speak in anger against the proud nation of Assyria, who seeks to flaunt their power over the weak. And so therefore, the Lord will not permit that. He will not stand for those who are powerful, who flaunt their power over the weak, over the vulnerable. And so he stands for the childlike. He stands with the innocent. He stands with those who have no ability to fight for themselves, to stand up for themselves. The Lord stands with them. And then hence the beautiful responsorial psalm, the Lord will not abandon his people. In other words, the Lord is not asking us to grow in power and in strength. He's asking us to grow in confidence and in trust. The Lord is not asking us to do it all on our own, but he's asking us to allow him to do it with us and for us. And so there's this sense of when you hear of Jesus speaking of the childlike, in many parts of the gospel where Jesus will take a child and place it in the midst of the crowd and use this child as an example of how it is that we are called to live. There's an innocence to the child. There's a vulnerability to the child. There's a lesson of being really open and humble enough to ask for assistance that a child teaches us. That we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to have all the power. We don't have to have all the control. In fact, it's better for us, and it's much more certainly prayerful, but it's much more freeing to say to the Lord, Lord, I don't have all the answers. Lord, I don't have all the control. And I don't want to have all the answers. I don't want to have all the control. I don't want to have all of the stress that comes with that. I want to place it, Lord, in your hands, to the childlike, to the innocent. And so there's a sense of humility, a message of humility, a message of vulnerability that we ponder today. The word vulnerability is not a bad word. To be vulnerable is not a bad thing when we're vulnerable in the presence of Almighty God. If we're vulnerable in the presence of someone who will take advantage of us, that's not a good thing. But the Lord is asking us, even when we are presented with people who may be vulnerable in our presence, that we are not to take advantage of them, that we are not to laud that power over anyone, that we are all meant to live humbly, childlike, in the presence of Almighty God. And so let that be our prayer today, that we may both strive to live more humbly, to live with a greater sense of humility in our life, that we may be more vulnerable in the presence of Almighty God, that we may allow the Lord to take from us all that he desires, that he may use us as his vessels, that we don't need to control, we don't need to have the power, we don't need to have the answers. All we need is to give it 100% to Almighty God.